Hi everyone, and this is my next sketch of the day. And what I wanted to do with this sketch, I wanted to elaborate more on some of the previous ideas that I had regarding to that samurai Senchar and that Oni demon concept that I have done in the past several videos. But when it comes to the idea for this one, I thought, or I had this idea that came to mind, and all I saw was this sort of giant holding this castle on its back. And I've done many creatures where they kind of have like they have a city resting on their back or head or whatnot. But what I really wanted to do with this is sort of apply a type of logic to why is the city on its back, and and what 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 type of personality does this character have? And as I go along with this drawing as well, I try to make this video a bit shorter than the other ones. The other videos are typically around an hour or so, and I initially I wanted this video to be around the 30-minute mark, but noticing how quickly it looked on the time lapse, I felt that I needed to kind of go back um, on that idea and make this video closer to an hour. And it all has to do just because I want to talk about some of the things that I'm doing here, and uh, it was just moving too quickly. Overall, the drawing took it was close to 2 hours, I would say, but I could have been well finished before then. But I was really enjoying the whole process, and towards the end, I decided just to kind of continue polishing it. But yeah, it didn't take as long as I thought it'd take. Um, Typically they take me around the 3 hour mark, and it was a bit, sometimes it's more or less. But if I can have the initial sketch around the half an hour to an hour time, then that's pretty awesome. In this case, I think it was close to like 20 to 30 minutes, and before I can kind of start adding the two-tone. And yeah, so I think at the moment I'm just trying to fit in the anatomy and the whole composition all together in this canvas. But uh, what I like to do, I don't really rely, I don't close myself to the size of the canvas. I like to just draw the character, and if the canvas size needs to be bigger, I just adjust accordingly. It's I've been doing that for a while, and to me, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy to see artists, draw what they want um, in a canvas. And like for me, I've always drawn this way where even in a close up, I'll be close up, and then when I zoom out, um, I start changing the size of the canvas. But I find that kind of amazing that people can do that, where they can just kind of draw within that canvas size. Like that's a skill that I'm not really great at. I can try and do it, but I to me this is my a bit of what I'm used to and more comfortable with when it comes to drawing and designing. I just like to draw and switch the canvas if I need to. If I need to create a limb that I feel it's gonna have to be longer, then I either go wider or make the canvas taller. But that's something I do quite often with the drawings. But in this case, when I look at the anatomy, now looking at it, the lower part of the leg is a little small, and that's okay. I think that could add interest in the character. But later on, I do make it a bit longer. I just thought some things I feel should remain with certain proportions, and other things I like to stretch out or exaggerate. Um, Hence the arms, the arms I kind of really exaggerated those. But going back to the drawing, this is I do think about like what kind of character this is, and what why is it carrying a city. So a little bit of a story that I was kind of coming up while drawing this guy. I was thinking, well, um, maybe this guy is being controlled by, someone up there. Perhaps it's like a navigator or some sort of, general or something directing this creature. And I also wanted to add type of, body horror to this guy. So as you see me right here, I'm kind of adding these like stakes or giant nails. I felt like I definitely have to add something to this guy, maybe because he's being controlled. Maybe he's some sort of like he's kind of numb, or sort of like a zombie-esque type of giant. And these sort of acupuncture kind of nails that he has right here. I felt that maybe, I can later on, as you'll see, I start connecting them with like some sort of rope, but everything is sort of like intertwined within its body, and it all scales up to a certain part of the castle where they can pull on these strings, like if he's a puppet. So at the same time, you kind of see his expression. He's sort of being in a sense tortured, but also being controlled by whoever is up there, um, directing this thing where to go. And I was trying to think like what would be a good name uh, for this piece, and for some reason like the name Hermit Castle kind of popped in my head. So when that popped in my head, I was trying to kind of give it more logic as well. So I was thinking perhaps this small society or group of people that live up there. It's not really a city, but it's a building. It's some sort of structure that perhaps monks or like priests live up there, but they want to be away from society, and um, maybe they put a spell on this giant, and they're using them to kind of get around. So that was sort of the idea behind this. And right now in the drawing, I'm kind of adding like these ropey thingies, that kind of spread out throughout his body, or so. But I also thought like, if this was a video game and you had to fight this guy, like what does he do? Like, what does he do? What are his attacks? Definitely he's big. And what's the reason for you trying to kill him? Like, what's the obstacle behind this guy? So those are some of the fun things that are very cool when it comes to designing. I love to just design creatures, and later I like to put or place some sort of logic. But while I'm drawing this guy or any other character or design, it does help to think about this type of stuff while I'm designing it, because it just starts to add more to the character and the personality of the creature or character you're doing. And in this case, I felt it was adding to it. So uh, yeah, this guy's probably, being he's at the mercy of whoever is controlling him. And right here, I focused in on this area. I thought it needed more details here. So when I started applying logic to it, I made these little details sort of barrels. And what I was thinking, like, why are they barrels? Well, maybe there's water in there, maybe there's food that these guys kind of collect and just kind of, use this as their storage. Just kind of dangle these barrels down beneath the structure. And also wanted to mention that when it comes to reference, I didn't use much. I did glance at a few castles in Japan, so I took some of some of the things that stood out in those castles and that I felt I could use. So, but the most apparent thing that I felt was very useful when it came to this design was definitely the structure. They have very kind of curvy rooftops or beams. It's very interesting how they got that shape language, and you know that's something very fascinating about uh, the Japanese or you know some Asian cultures. Their architecture is very fascinating to me. It's like how do they come up or how do they make that their style? You know, every every culture has their own sort of sense of designing their architecture, and in this case, you know, I thought it fit really nicely when it came to the flow and rhythm of this drawing. Just you know, very you can see it's very sketchy, but you can kind of see the fluidity in those shapes. Uh, and you know, one thing I do recommend if you when it comes to perspective, as you saw me draw a bit of that architecture up there. I used to use a lot of the times when it came to perspective lines, and those are very useful. And I encourage you guys to use those. If you use them, continue to use them. But once in a while, you know, just try to draw perspective without having any guides, and just eyeball it. You know, I think it helps in the long run, in case you need to, you know, make adjustments and sometimes for me, guides like that sort of get in the way, and they kind of, you know, they fuzz with the imagination process. I rely a lot on, you know, little gesture cues here and there. At times, you know, I mean, you can call those happy accidents or not, but at times I'll see a line, and at the time I just think it's a, you know, before I would think it's a mistake, but now looking at it from different perspective, sometimes I'll see, hey, that's not a mistake. That's actually, you know, that could be a scar or that could be like some sort of you know, like in this case you see those lines right there. I made those ropes, you know, and the ropes that are kind of they perhaps, you know, it's like a fish hook into his mouth that kind of help him steer in which whatever direction he needs to go to or whatever the navigator wants to go to. So in a sense, yeah, poor guy, he's being tortured, but maybe he's just numb to it. But yeah, that's one thing I like to do, and I've learned that using guides sort of hurts hurts me. At least perspective guides, they kind of hurt my sort of the imaginative kind of process when it comes to trying to figure out what if I'm trying to add to the drawing, you know. It hurts it a bit because I just love taking cues off the sketch and not not the perspective. But if it works for you, you know, go for it. That's just kind of throwing some ideas out there if you haven't realized that yet or not. But yeah, I also like to draw very light. Um, not sure why. It's just probably the way my brain works. But I'm very sensitive to anything that's on screen when it comes to the ideating process. If I see something on screen, uh, I'll right away I'll just feel like it's part of the drawing and I have to make it work somehow. At times, but once I start fleshing this thing out even further, um, you know, I start some things, you know, I've gone over that. Let's just say I passed that phase of ideating, and I'm very committed to what the drawing uh, looks at times, and I can just go over it or delete that some of the gesture lines. But for the most part, um, in this drawing, you know, I try to apply some sense to some of these lines, and because I like them, and you know, if this was a drawing the way I used to do, you know, draw like this and then create another layer above this one, and then get my brush ready, my comic book brush, and just my ink type of style brush, and then just start doing like perfect lines over this. That's how I used to draw at times. You know, I've done so many different techniques over the years, and that was one of them. That's a very typical one when you see very clean art. But I started getting tired of redrawing the same thing twice, and at times, you know, when I would draw it twice and I would apply the really clean line drawing, and then I would switch off the layers on and off from the original sketch to the final clean sketch. And if I was honest with myself, like I still liked the dirty looking sketch more than the clean one, and that just became kind of redundant. Like why am I drawing this thing twice? And if the second time I'm drawing it, I don't really like it. So I just started I stopped doing that. So and you know that's how I was, I guess, slowly started coming by in this sort of style. I like the sketchiness, the imperfections in the sketch. Those are some of the things that I can never I can never feel when I get the clean sketch. I feel like I lose it, and at least for me, it doesn't work. I know plenty of artists that they do amazing line work, and I mean, impressive, I should say, and it's just not me. Like I can't get it to those levels for whatever reason, or I can't be satisfied with my own clean clean art quality. So I just stick to this rough type of look. It gives it a bit of a gritty look, which I really like. So yeah, at the moment right now, I'm just adding slight shadow here and there. Really trying to add some weight to this guy by applying some shadow here and there. That's something I would recommend if you're doing you know, thumbnails or just a concept, just applying quick shadow to it. It doesn't have to be like this. I like doing it very sketchy, but you know, if you guys get into, if you're interested in the concept art field, uh, I do recommend learning how to do basic shadows. You know, it'll make your drawings pop. So just having the basic shadow, you know, one tone, and then using that to apply a graphic detail to the drawing, that'll make your drawings pop more than you know, if you're still trying to get good at line drawing, I suggest that, you know, that'll help you out as well to figure out perhaps the way the structure or the shape of the limb looks, or the shape of the head. That'll help you out in that regard as well. And perhaps if you want to stick to line drawing, it'll help you in that as well. So I do suggest that trying thumbnails or sketches using just using two tones. And for me, I love it. I think it's one of the best ways to kind of take your drawing wherever you need to take it. If you need to make it a comic book style, you have the shadows already figured out. You have the shapes figured out. All you need to do is just apply a layer and just kind of go over it. But if it's doing concept, I think it's great because you'll have that first read right away, and it'll make your drawings feel a bit more clear, or at least it'll force you to make them clear. And you know, at times, if things can get muddy if you use shadow, so it'll kind of force you to make shadows look the way, or look correct, or else, you know, things will look off. And you know, just overall, it'll help drawing graphically. And yeah, I've been doing this type of style when it comes to two-tone. I've been doing this for possibly half of my career, at least doing this style, or maybe less than half, I should say, maybe the past like seven years or so. But yeah, typically, like in film, I would just do the drawing just without shadows, and that works too. If I need to do that, like if speed and deadlines are a factor, I don't do this. Like this is just the fun part for me. Um, Applying shade to the drawing, make it feel more alive. But yeah, that's usually what I do more for like social media. But since I've grown a bit in social media, and some people have liked the work that I do, sometimes they request this style. But normally I wouldn't do this. Starting out, when I started out, I was just rely on line drawing. But the one of my favorite parts of the drawing when I was starting out was just the render. Like when it came to the rendering side of things, like I just loved it. Like I still do, but now I try to pay more attention in the initial sketch. But when I was starting out, the rendering, like I couldn't wait to get to the rendering. Like at times, my drawing was way more loose than this. It was way less defined than this, and I would just start rendering. But the more time I have things figured out, or at least things that are implied within the initial sketch, the better that the end result will be, at least for myself. That's what I found out, that it's like having this thing figured out to the point where I understand what potentially a certain line could be, or uh, what it could be, or what it could become, then I just leave it at that. I try not to waste any time, and then I just go straight to start applying some shadow, or sometimes I don't, and I just if I'm showing this to a client, and and like I mentioned, if speed is a factor, then I just show it to them as is, just a sketch. I'm trying to save time, not just for me and the employer or client. I'm trying to get the direction as quickly and as economically as possible. Uh, most of the time, most of the times, deadlines are a factor in this job. So, trying to figure out the direction early on will save everyone like time, and in the end, it might even help you get more time if you really like the rendering process or just the fleshed out process. But that's just been my experience with technology here and there. uh, New technology that's we've come about, like the rendering process has completely changed the industry. And this type of style, I don't think a lot of, maybe I could be wrong, but from my experience, like I don't know if a lot of directors would probably uh, lean towards, since now we have ZBrush, and we have a lot of people that are really good at rendering something that looks like super believable, super realistic. These sketches tend to be more useful when it comes to arriving to the idea or even design. But when it comes to making something believable, 3D programs such as like ZBrush or Blender, those are great to have, and I use them. I don't use ZBrush as much anymore, but I use Blender to help me out with some, like, perhaps if I need to do something complex when it comes to architecture, I use it for that. But you can totally use Blender for organics as well. I've tried a few times, but in the end, uh, that was a part of my career where I decided, I'm probably not gonna go full time on the 3D side of things, and I'm just gonna stick to 2D. 2D is still, very useful. Some directors that are very versed in design, or they at least know what they want, or are very experienced when it comes to designing something, they a lot of times they actually do prefer sketching like this, like Ideas could just be, they don't always have to be visual, you know, they could be a two-letter, you know, a phrase, it could be a phrase or a few words, that could be an idea. But when it comes time to actually fleshing this thing out, sketches like this are super useful. They save, like I mentioned, they save a lot of time. And you know, if you get an artist that, you know, takes them perhaps a week to come up with one idea, and then you get a concept artist that can sketch out like 50 ideas in a week. It's all about ideas in the end. Uh, you can always have a great idea and later, you know, hire someone who can, you know, who's an expert at 3D and can flesh out that idea. So it's a whole process, it's a whole pipeline, and every director is different. But you know, like I feel like the ones who rely on sketches, they are really heavy on the idea of whatever they're trying to create. And that's the reason, you know, sketches are great. And I doubt that this type of art form will go away. I just don't see it. I know like AI comes up a lot, but I really uh, I don't see it. Like I don't see AI being able to create something with emotion that's original, with the levels of complexity. I really don't see it. I still feel like the technology is you know, it'd probably take like, it would take a lot, I think, for the technology to actually have original thoughts, you know. And right now, like I actually do like AI. I think it's fascinating. I watch like recreations of worlds, you know, of movies and stuff. I always think that's pretty cool, or pretty cool and neat. But I don't, I rarely see something that looks original. I have seen some stuff that's like, oh, that's kind of cool, you know, and I would mainly use that as inspiration. I wouldn't use it, I wouldn't rely on it for designing. And yeah, I think this art form will never go away as long as we keep doing movies and telling stories. I mentioned it before, idea is king in the industry, and I've had, you know, like I've had when starting out, I wasn't so confident in my drawings. Sometimes, you know, like my idea would get picked just because they liked it, and not necessarily because the drawing was great. It's just because I had the right idea in certain aspects and I had the direction that they were looking for. And uh, that would happen, you know, from time to time. So that sort of is like the power of not just having ideas, but being able to generate those ideas in a very presentable and readable fashion. So that get good at those things, and then you'll be, you know, you'll have the upper hand over someone that takes them a long time to create one idea, even though if it's amazing, you know, if it's an amazing render, I should say. But if the idea is awesome, um, then it should be taken. It should be taken, in my opinion, over something that's like you know, idea's not so great, but even though the render's super realistic. But I think everyone in the industry kind of knows that. So for this drawing right now, I was trying to, I'm adding a few details here and there, that details that I kind of remember from the reference I looked at, and it was Japanese castles. But I'm also adding my own reference from my mental library in terms of like those kind of stumps that are kind of coming out. But yeah, the foundation of this is like rock. Of these, some of these castles, it's like rock, which I thought was really cool, and that's sort of laying upon this character. But overall, you know, I think I do think when it comes to this character, like what does he eat? Like I go as far as thinking that maybe that's not required when it comes to Uh, games maybe not that far, but I'm telling you, like if you start kind of diving into the story, you'll start thinking of things to add. Like right now, I'm thinking about it. Like what could this guy eat? Maybe he eats like raw fish or like big fish, or something like that. Or maybe he eats people. And if he does eat those things, if he eats those things, maybe his mouth could have been more gnarly. Maybe he could have had like stained blood around his mouth. So that idea starts to become visual, and that's something I could add to the creature while I'm drawing it. So tell yourself stories, like try to apply some logic uh, when it comes to this type of stuff, creatures or characters. Try to kind of see it in a world, what does he do? Like how does he get by? And the more you do that, the more you start thinking of things to add and ideas you can apply here and there. And more than often, if you do a good job, like you don't even have to explain it. Like the drawing would explain itself. And I always favor that over someone trying to describe me, like what what the what this creature is. Like I would rather see it visually than you try to sell it to a drawing to me. You know, by telling me his descriptions and stuff like that. It's not that I won't also be sold on that, but I would just rather see it visually because if the idea sounds cool, why not do it visually and let's really see how it looks. So, but you know what? Like selling something is also a skill, and you guys could probably get good at that and perhaps sell some drawings that I don't know, maybe they're okay, as long as that perhaps your idea gets picked or taken if you're doing a job or maybe people are liking it. But personally, I just don't feel. I would rather feel more confident than at looking at the image rather than relying on speaking skills or uh, just or selling skills. But that's not to say that you guys can't get good at that, and maybe that's a skill you might want to get good as well. You know, it's not bad to have selling your sketch in case someone missed something or if someone's not seeing the sketch how you are seeing it, or many different reasons. But yeah, hopefully you guys are enjoying this piece. This is in addition to that world that I thought was kind of neat, and it makes me think like what other, as we speak of the story, it makes me think like what other types of a life exists in this world, and perhaps maybe I will continue to add to this world in future videos. But it does make me wonder, like what type of creatures live in this world? Are they giant crabs, or what are they? Maybe it's a mixture of crabs and people fused together or something like that. But yeah, it just makes me think about that more than as I go, as I start to add details and start to focus on some of these areas here and there on logically on what they are and what they could why, like what they could possibly have to do with this character. So yeah, let's see. There was something else, yeah, I wanted to mention, and yeah, I've mentioned this before, but I kind of want to mention it again, and that's uh that's the art of caricature. And as I mentioned before, that was a language that one of the first art language art languages that I got to learn. And in this case, for this guy, he is, in a sense, at least his body. It's a caricature. It's almost cartoon. I mean, you can say it's cartoon, and that's thanks to some of a job that I had when I was getting started, you know, learning how to draw caricature, learning how to draw likeness and faces. Later on, when I was working in creature design, I had to transition that from faces to bodies. Like, how do I make a caricature of a body? So I knew how to make caricatures of faces, but how do I retain a human body, make it look crazy? I know some people think of caricatures as something that's funny and comical, but I think you can make caricature really cool looking. You know, it doesn't have to be like funny. It is, in a sense, like as I mentioned, cartoon, but you can definitely uh, exaggerate and push proportions to not just the comical way if you want to. You can push them to something that looks really cool. So uh, for my own stuff, I try to do more cool than comical. Like, actually, I don't even think I've done much that's comical in my art. That's not to say that I can think of something, but I just try to lean towards stuff that looks awesome. So maybe I'll do a comical piece one day, but that's just at the time. Uh, for the time being, that's what I'm into right now. Just stuff I want stuff to look awesome, and I want to get that sense of awe by the time that I'm finished with the sketch. Not It doesn't happen all the time, but that's what I strive for. So that's not to say as well that you can't make something scary or you can't make apply other types of emotions using caricature. You know, caricature is just the art of exaggerating, and you can take that many different ways and many different emotions. But yeah, for me, I just try to, for my type of art that I've been doing recently, I just try to do something that's either scary or awesome when it comes to exaggerating features. But yeah, that's an art form I would highly recommend to anyone that's trying to get into character design or even creature design. It's helped me a bunch. It built a base for myself when it came to the creature world, and even just drawing, learning how to draw faces. You know, that's a pretty big thing as well. A good skill to have. Just learning how to draw faces using and without using reference, you know. I I would I would tell you guys to kind of get good at that, you know, get good at drawing faces and humans. But if that's not your thing, um, you know, animals are always something awesome, but to draw. But I just feel that the more things you learn, you know, you just heighten your chances to creating more awesome art, or even uh, landing jobs. You know, don't I would not recommend, if you're trying to be a concept artist, don't get stuck on drawing one thing. It doesn't make sense. Like, if you're drawing one thing, it makes more sense for you to be like a traditional painter or some sort of that, where you just draw that one thing, and like, if people love that subject matter, they'll, you know, buy your artwork in that case. But for concept art, I would not recommend to pigeonhole yourself into drawing one thing over and over. I mean, eventually, if you get really good at drawing that one thing, I guarantee you, you'll probably will find a job. But uh, if that's what you love doing, then make sure you're like the best at it. And because other than that, it might be tough for you to find a job if that's what you're looking for. And the whole idea of a concept artist is, that's someone who generates ideas. So it's like, if they ask you to draw a car, but then you tell them like, well, I can only draw an elephant, then it's like, well, then I'll look for someone else, it is a tough one. So that's just the thing about concept artists. You actually want to be very versed when it comes to things that you can draw. You want to be ready, and in the end, it's just going to help you draw other stuff, better. And when it came to starting out, I never said no to anything. Like if someone asked me draw this and I've never drawn it before, I never said I can't draw this. Like I'll just do my best at drawing it. And now thinking about it, like what some of the things perhaps that I was asked, it might take me a while to think of an example, but it happened quite often. Uh, time this one time they asked me to draw, a police character with like a sort of like a wolf mask, and again, that sounds very interesting. Uh, Never really drawn masks before, I think at that time, so I just gave it a shot. I would give it a shot. So I would I would not say no if it's for the better of you improving your drawing skills. I would almost go as far as even drawing stuff that you're not very comfortable with. If you're very used to drawing organic stuff and you get asked to draw a robot, just give it a try. Like you might come up with something cool, and they might like it. It might be a different take on a robot since you're used to drawing organics or creatures. It might be different, and that's probably a good thing. And in the film industry, people are always looking for something that's fresh. That's one of the keywords that people kind of look for. It's like they want to see something fresh. It's always the same thing. Like you always get the same thing from all the clients, as they kind of as your manager or whoever's directing it tries to explain it to you. It's always the same thing. It's we want to see something fresh. We want to see something new, and that never gets old, actually. But just give it a try. Give if you haven't drawn if you're if you haven't drawn something because you're too scared, you know, like there's no reason to be scared. Just this isn't this isn't that serious. It's like uh, it'll help you get jobs in the end. So I would recommend that. Like don't be so close-minded when it comes to perhaps drawing things you might that in the end it's like just make sure you do like that those things that you're drawing. If you're not so into them, then it doesn't make sense to cage yourself in into stuff you don't like. But if let's just say if there's robots that you think they're kind of cool, or maybe not, it doesn't have to be robots. Maybe you can make your own robot if you're drawing organic stuff, If it's an animal robot, maybe let's see how an animal robot looks like. Well, anyways, getting back to the drawing. With this is the polish face I kind of landed on. And honestly, I could have been done with this like maybe 30 minutes ago, but as an idea, but I just wanted to keep fleshing this thing. I felt like I got to a good point with this, and I was enjoying the whole process when it came to just rendering this thing. As I mentioned, that used to be like one of my favorite parts of creating creatures was just the rendering process. I couldn't wait to get to that point. But now I enjoy like the whole process. I enjoy coming up with the idea. I make sure I spend enough time with the idea, enough time so I know what certain gesture lines are, what certain kind of sketches are, what they could be. I just spend enough time where mentally I'll be like confident enough where it's like, okay, I can move on to the next stage of applying some light shadow. But this stage, I like to just call it the polish phase, even though like I'm still kind of applying some shadows here and there. But in this stage, I'm trying to make as many adjustments or as I can, or just blending of some of the shadows here and there, so it doesn't look too choppy. But yeah, that's what I do in this stage, and it's fun. But nowadays I enjoy like the whole process. I enjoy creating the sketch, uh, as long as I'm making sure that it hits those points that I need before I go on to the next phase. But Yeah, when it comes to this video, I explained some of the thought process when it comes to creating some of these designs that I've been doing. I think story is a huge part and it's very helpful. So try to think of that if you're not doing so at this moment. Try to think of stories for your characters. It just helps the design in the long run. And right now, I was adding, part of those ropey things that help steer this character. And who knows? Like, I sometimes wonder when it comes to this, like, how does it attack? Like, why do you have to kill it? Maybe you have to kill it to try to get to the person that's inside of it. Maybe it's a priest, some sort of knowledgeable priest, you're trying to get information, or maybe it's like a super weapon in there. So, uh, yeah, I just love coming up with stories, after or while I'm drawing, before or even after, when I'm doing a design. And yeah, that's something that I didn't really put much effort in when I was starting out. I just liked something that looked awesome. But then later I realized, the more experience I got, that story is a huge part of character design, especially in like animation or video games. And it's always fun to see these types of design like in film. Uh, so it applies to film as well, but it has to be those special films where they kind of go all out with ideas and stuff, and with characters and whatnot. But yeah, you guys can let me know what you think. Almost done with this. Like, these are like the very last stages of this design, and overall, I think it took me less than 2 hours. This whole character. Typically, like I mentioned, it takes me around three. Three's like the sweet spot, but this one took less than that. Which I'll take it. If it takes less time, then awesome. You know, I don't want to have to spend any more time that I don't feel I should spend. If I feel like it's completed, then we're all good. So right now I'm just adding like very subtle gradients to the arms and legs and here and there. Just adding little extra noise. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this design. I kind of like this universe, and I sort of want to explore this a bit more in future videos, so I'll touch upon it like here and there. I'll try to think what kind of other creatures or characters live in this world. So uh, yeah, I will not just do this one. I'll probably venture off into other worlds as well. It's whatever I feel like, I guess, during the time being. Um, I did make an adjustment to the leg. I didn't want to mention that because the lower part of the leg is fairly short, and towards the very end of the drawing, I realized that. So um, I made that quick adjustment. Uh, I made it a bit longer, so as you'll see in a bit. But yeah, I didn't see much that I wanted to change towards the end of the drawing. Uh, Typically, I do like to take breaks and come back, and then I'll see something uh, that I like to change. But in this drawing, I was pretty happy with it. And as an idea, as a design, I'm good with this. And hopefully you guys enjoyed it. So yeah, that's it for the video. More to come. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching and take care.